Hi guys, my name is Arisa and welcome back to my channel. You might know me from my Instagram @Revolution, or if you're new here, welcome. Here we are talking all things astrology. Today we're discussing a topic that has been growing and I think it's going to become even more popular in the next few years: astrocartography, the astrology of travel and relocation. But before I begin, many of you might not know that I'm organizing an astrology trip to Bali in May of 2025, and the signups are happening right now, and we have only 3 discounted spots left. The purpose of this trip is to connect to yourself, your authenticity, your purpose, your calling, all through my readings and workshops that I'm going to be hosting in person in Bali. Over 7 days, we are going to go deeper into your calling by looking at your chart, and we are also going to uncover what places on the map help you tap into that soul calling a lot more. We are going to have a personal local guide that's going to show us around at all times. Transportation is also included in the price, and also some of the meals, so there's nothing to worry about. You just have to sit down, relax, enjoy, and focus a lot more on connecting more with yourself. The first few days, we are connecting to the element of water in the place of Ubud. That's where we are going to go to purification water ceremonies. We are going to visit sacred waterfalls and also go around the market and the place itself to see the buzzing energy. Day 3, we are heading the road to connect more with the earth element, and we are going to visit the farm called Rumah Desa, where we are going to be cooking Balinese food and also look at the rice fields and enjoy the view. The last few days is when we are going to connect to the air element, because we're going to visit temples such as Tanah Lot and Taman Ayun in Canggu and also enjoy the beaches there. Here's a photo of how the hotels we'll be staying at will look like. It's going to be 4-star hotels, and also if you want, you also have the option to choose a single room. I'm bringing this up right now because tomorrow is Travel Tuesday, which means that I'm offering an extra $50 voucher to the already existing early bird ticket. This voucher is only available if you sign up on 3rd of December or 4th of December until the end of the day. In the description is where you have all the details, and you can also contact me on Instagram if you have any questions. The thing with astrocartography becoming popular though is that pop astrology is trying to make astrocartography be very accessible. So it's giving you all of those titles. Venus is great for money and love. Jupiter is great for abundance. But in reality, what this does is it loses the essence of astrocartography a little bit, and also the complexity, because in reality, astrocartography cannot really be made into something simple because it's a very, very complex tool. So today we're going to talk about the 5 essential things you need to know when it comes to astrocartography. And there's a lot more as well, but these are the ones that I would really have loved to be aware of when I first started to learn astrocartography. Astrocartography was developed by Jim Lewis in 1970s, and what it does is it combines astrology with geography. So it takes the birth chart and it lays it on top of the map of the world. The astrocartography tool looks like a map of the world, and it has a lot of lines on top of each other. So what it does is it shows where the planets were rising or setting at the moment you were born. The idea behind it is that each place brings out a new side of us whenever we travel to it. So looking at these lines, we can see what our focus is on that specific area whenever we travel on the line or close to the line. The closer we are to it, the more the influence it has. How do you calculate it? You just have to Google AstroClick Travel. I do love this tool. I do think it's the most accurate one on astro.com. Just add your birth details and then it's going to lead you to the map. You can just zoom in. You can also go to a specific continent as well. You can see aspects. It's very, very interactive. Now let's get into the facts. Number 1. Not every line has the same effect for everyone. It really just depends on your birth chart. interpretations online, they're going to tell you that Venus is the place to go and you're going to find love there. That Jupiter is the place to go and you're going to find abundance there. That on the sun line, you're going to feel like yourself. However, if in your birth chart you have Mars in Libra, for example, Mars doesn't feel very good in Libra because Mars has to do with drive, self-expression, and Libra is the opposing energy of Mars. Libra is more about being passive at times. So if you have Mars in Libra and you decide to travel to a Mars line, it is likely that that place is going to be challenging for you because you are not used to this very confrontational energy. So you are more likely to attract conflict on that line. If you have in your birth chart Mars in Aries or Mars in a fire sign, or you have a lot of Aries placements which are ruled by Mars, when you travel to a Mars line, you might feel more connected to that energy. You might feel the drive more. You might feel motivated more, and a lack of conflict because it's an energy that you already have in your chart, so you're already used to it. This is how I would recommend you to check the lines on the map to start off with. Just check your rising sign, your moon sign, and your sun sign, so your big three. And you can also check your Venus sign because usually that shows more of a benefic energy in your chart. Which signs are these planets in for you? And then what is the planet that is ruling that specific sign or those specific signs? Also works very well if you have a stellium. So if you have 3 or more planets in the same sign, because it's likely that you are used to the energy of that sign as well. So after you have identified the sign, you have to look at the planet that is ruling that sign in astrology. So you know that you're more likely to feel good on that line because you are used to this energy and it feels familiar and it feels like an energy where you can thrive because it really helps your birth chart feel seen, as opposed to going to a place where you don't really resonate with that energy and it can feel like you don't really belong there. Number 2. It's not just the lines on the map, it's also the angles. Everyone talks about Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, but no one talks about the angles where these planets are to be found in your birth chart, aka Saturn on the IC, Venus on the MC, Jupiter on the DC. If you don't know what angles are the 4 main pillars in a birth chart. We have the AC, which is your ascendant. The ascendant has to do with ourselves, our self-development. We have the DC, which has to do with our descendant, which usually has to do with our relationships. And it's always the same as our 7th house. So here, the focus is a lot more on relationships. Then we have the IC, which has to do with family and a sense of home. And we also have the MC, which is the highest point in the chart that has to do with our career and the way we express ourselves in our career and our reputation. Whenever you travel to one of these angles, you're going to bring out the energy of those angles. So maybe where you want to find is love, but you decide to travel on a Venus MC line, well, you're more likely to find maybe career success there or financial success in your career. But if you really want to find love, you should be traveling more towards a Venus DC line, which is more about attracting relationships, or maybe a Venus IC line, which is more about building a family or having a sense of hope. When looking for what line suits you, you can also find the angles that sit on the map. So then you know that whenever you want to travel to that specific place, it is likely that themes connected to that angle are going to show up, because whenever you travel to that place, that is where that specific planet shows up within the chart. Number 3, and this is the most asked question, but the question is, what should I do if my lines are on top of the ocean? The answer is simple. If your lines on the map are over the ocean, you can also check the aspects. Since astrocartography is your birth chart laid on top of the map, in a birth chart, we don't only have the planets, but we also have the way that planets interact with each other. But on the astrocartography map, the aspects refer more to the way that planets interact with one of the angles that we just talked about before. And yes, lines are much more important in terms of energy. So whenever you travel or you live close to a line on the map, obviously that is going to be felt more intensely. However, if you really want to know how a place would be like for you and there's no major lines on it, checking the aspect line, it's still going to show you a pretty fair amount of the specific theme or nuance that is going to be visible there. So I just see it more as a nuance, not necessarily the major theme. The way you calculate aspects is you have to change from the scalable map option to the specific continent you're interested in. You have to generate it. And then you can choose view the place with major aspects. This is going to generate a lot of more lines on the map, and what these lines indicate really depends on the planet that you see associated to that line. If you don't know how to read aspects, that's all right. You can just at least look at what planet symbol shows up there, because that planet, it's likely having an influence over that specific place. For example, I'm from Romania, but currently I'm living in Bratislava, Slovakia, and I don't have any lines over it. There is one major aspect, and that is Venus, the planet of love, square MC, the angle related to career. This aspect for me also goes on top of Wrocław, Poland, which is the place where I first met my boyfriend. We studied together our master's. So it was related to love, where we first met, and also related to our career because we were studying there for our future. The same line goes very, very close to Bratislava, and that is where I moved last year in order to be with my boyfriend, and also where my career has seen some really good success since I'm here. If you want to know more about aspects, let me know and I'll do another video. Number 4, how to navigate a stellium or cluster of lines. So if you have a place on the map that has more than one line on top of it, it means that in your birth chart, you likely have a conjunction, or you have all of those planets together one after another, which means that they're going to always be together on the map. This also indicates that you can never escape yourself, no matter where you go. If there is a place that has more lines at the same place, it is more ideal if that place has a line that resonates with you and it's good in terms of energy and based on your chart. And if the other line or lines have an energy that maybe it's a little bit more challenging or maybe doesn't always resonate with you, I do find this ideal, because that way you can be happy when it comes to the place, but at the same time, you don't get very comfortable there. So you can also feel challenged. For example, over Paris is where I have my Saturn line, my North Node line, as well as my Mars line. And Saturn and Mars are usually not that good in terms of energy. However, Saturn is a really good line for me because I have a lot of planets in Capricorn. I have a Capricorn rising, and I also have a nighttime chart. And Mars, since I have a Mars in Libra, it's a challenging line for me. So these three together, although they might look challenging, they're actually a good place to explore because they help me get to the bottom of things. They really help me discover parts of my purpose. If I had a cluster of planets with Pluto and Mars together, maybe in the same place, with me not really having Scorpio placements and also not having Aries placements ruled by Pluto and Mars, it was definitely a place that maybe I wanted to avoid. Number 5. Relocation charts. Everyone talks about the lines, when in reality, the only way you can get a true feeling of how a place is going to feel like for you is if you calculate how your chart would be like if you were to live there. And it's showing how the energy is going to be like living there, because the chart can completely change or it can remain the same. You can calculate it on AstroSeek. Just Google relocation chart AstroSeek and just put in your birth details and also put the relocation city that you would like to know how the energy of would be for you. When you calculate it, it's likely that your rising sign is going to change. The planets in the signs are never going to change, but they might be also changing in terms of the houses that they're in based on the way your rising sign changes as well. Basically, wherever you go, you can tap into a new version of yourself. So for example, where I was born in Romania, I have a Capricorn rising, but where I live right now, I have a Sagittarius rising. The difference is that where I was born, I was more focused on my career achievements, but whenever I come here, I feel more like I want to explore the world, like I want to travel more, like I want to learn new things, like I want to teach people things. It's very Sagittarius rising like. The rising sign in your relocation chart usually shows how you're going to view the world when you are in that place. If the rising sign remains the same, it means that it gives you a familiar energy and you're already kind of used to that kind of energy if you are to move there. And it also just means that the time zone is likely the same. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a little bit different in style, so I just want to see if you're interested in this topic and if you want to know more, so please let me know. I can also definitely go deeper into any of the topics that I have mentioned here today. Let me know if there's any questions, and I really hope to see you in Bali. But if for some reason you don't want to travel to Bali, but you still want to know about your astrocartography map, I have an astrocartography reading that is in a pre-recorded format on my website right now, and it's called the Travel Marvel. And what it does is it looks into the places that I recommend you to travel or relocate to in 2025 if that is your goal. I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what you want me to talk about next. Bye bye.